Good Lord, Mark, what in the world is that thing on your house? That was George Henderson, standing in the street with his slippers and his newspaper, gawking at my new front door like I'd lost my damn mind. I just grinned, put my hand on the big steel wheel, and gave it a slow spin. The bolts thunked into place loud enough for the whole block to hear. Peace of mind, I told him. But let me back up a second, because you don't just wake up one day and decide to bolt a bank vault door onto a house in Willow Creek Estates. No, sir, this was months in the making, and it started with the kind of neighbor who could make a priest cuss in church. When I bought this place, I figured I'd found my own patch of paradise. Quiet street, trees out back, a porch for sipping coffee, the works. Nobody mentioned Karen Whitfield came with the deed. And Karen, well, if Napoleon and Martha Stewart had a kid with a clipboard, she'd be it. HOA president, queen of the block, the kind of woman who treats rules like commandments and neighbors like subjects. She believed compliance was a lifestyle. She believed her authority reached from her begonias right into my living room. And she was about to prove just how far she'd go. Now, I'm an engineer. I like things to make sense, to add up. When Karen first started her campaign, first the flowers, then the mailbox, then the bird feeder, I tried being reasonable. Wrote letters, quoted bylaws, explained things. But Karen didn't want reason. She wanted control. And the night she had my locks changed while I was asleep in my own house, that was the moment it all changed. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just fighting for begonias anymore. I was fighting for my own peace, for the right to feel safe in my own damn home. And that, my friends, is how I ended up with the wildest, most over-engineered front door in the history of Willow Creek. You ever meet someone and just know, trouble's here? That's Karen. First time I saw her, I was planting begonias. Yeah, the same one she later declared illegal. She rolled up in an SUV, so big it looked like it ran on jet fuel, stepped out in a yellow suit bright enough to guide in airplanes, and just stared at me like I was a raccoon rooting in her garbage. The perfume hit next, sweet, heavy, cloying, the kind of smell that lingers long after the person leaves. She didn't so much as smile as flash her teeth. Mr. Peterson, we pride ourselves on standards here. At the time, I figured every neighborhood's got its busybody, right? But Karen wasn't just involved. She was the sun everything orbited around, president of every committee that mattered, clipboard in hand like a queen's scepter. Word was she had a file on every resident, paint chips for acceptable colors, and a special talent for making folks feel like kids sent to the principal's office. George Henderson warned me, son, it's easier to just plant the red ones. Karen's like water on stone, drip, drip, drip. She'll wear you down. But I don't back down that easy. If the rules said one thing, that's what they meant. And that's where the begonias became a battlefield. Crimson Delight, I planted sturdy little things, pest-resistant, cheerful as can be. 2 days later, an envelope lands in my mailbox. Bold HOA letterhead. Notice of violation. My flowers weren't on the official list. Turns out there were only 2 acceptable reds, Scarlet Blaze or Ruby Radiance. $5 fine per day until I pulled them up. I wrote back, explained the logic, sent a data sheet. Next thing I know, the fine doubled. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't about flowers. This was about obedience. After the flowers came the mailbox. Mine was standard black with a silver flag. Not good enough. Karen sent another letter, needed brass. Never mind that half the street still had silver. More fines. Then the bird feeder. She claimed it attracted undesirable avian elements. What did she want? Bald eagles only. It was endless. Letters, notices, each one crazier than the last. Folks up and down the street grumbled, wrote their checks, and kept quiet. Not me. I started quoting the bylaws back at her, footnotes and all. I practically memorized that 300-page HOA handbook, highlighting contradictions, mailing copies to the board. Every time, I could practically hear her grinding her teeth from across the street. Then, one night, everything changed. It was a Tuesday, ordinary as they come. I've been out in the garage, tinkering, lost track of time. Came inside, poured myself some water, sat at the kitchen table. That's when I heard it, a metallic clink at the front door. I peeked out. There's a guy crouched in my lock, tool belt slung low, flashlight in his teeth. Locksmith. And parked at the curb. Karen's white SUV, engine running. I didn't dare open the door. If they were changing the lock, I'd be trapped. So I watched, heart pounding, as he swapped out the lock in minutes, scribbled something on a clipboard, handed it through her window, and drove off. I stood there, just staring, locked inside my own house. In the morning, my key didn't fit. George tried to spare, nothing. That's mighty peculiar, he said. I saw a locksmith here the other day, Karen watching him. That's when it clicked. She'd changed the locks on my house while I was still living in it. Shock, then fury. My sanctuary, violated by a woman with a clipboard and a twisted sense of authority. Inside, on my hallway table, was an envelope from Karen, claimed there'd been an emergency inspection, listed decorative discrepancies, even billed me for the locksmith. It was like salt in the wound, but I wasn't about to roll over. I snapped photos, collected evidence. The letter, a water bottle the locksmith left, scratches around the door. Called another locksmith, Sam Miller, big hands like hams, who took one look and said, "Sir, this is breaking and entering. I'll put that in writing." I gathered it all up, then did what any self-respecting engineer would do. I call my lawyer. Carol Simmons is a legend. Sharp, tough, the kind who turns HOA covenants to confetti. I read her Karen's letter. She just whistled. "Mark, you've got her admitting to unauthorized entry, trespass, harassment, all in writing. Most folks beg me to prove intent. Your HOA president gift-wrapped it." She told me, "Change the locks again, high security this time. Document everything." And she'd draft a cease and desist to the board that'd make their hair curl. If they didn't rein Karen in, they'd be on the hook too. I followed Carol's orders. New deadbolts on every door. Medico high security, the kind you'd see on a bank. But even as I turned the new keys in my hand, I knew it wasn't enough. Because locks can be picked. Keys can be copied. Karen had crossed a line once. What was to stop her from doing it again? That's when the idea started to form. If she thought she could just barge in, I'd build a barrier she couldn't touch. Meanwhile, Karen kept escalating. Anonymous complaints through the HOA portal. Lawn too patchy, oil stain in the driveway. Recycling bin an inch out of place. Everyone triggered a fresh notice, each more absurd than the last. I stacked them up, sent them to Carol. But Karen wanted an audience, so one Saturday, she marched up my driveway with 2 board members in tow, clipboard at the ready. "We're conducting an emergency landscape review," she announced. "Reports of dandelions." I told her she wasn't setting foot in my backyard without a warrant. Gerald, the accountant, looked ready to faint. Karen turned purple, shrieked about obstruction, and stormed off. More notices arrived, now citing my new locks, overtly defensive architecture. I almost choked on my coffee laughing. But the more she raged, the more determined I became. I started researching security doors. Nothing seemed crazy enough. Until, finally, it clicked, a vault door. Not just any vault door, a real one, multi-ton slab of steel with a crank wheel. I found a company called Fortress Max, run by an ex-military guy who didn't even blink. "You got the structure to hold it?" he asked. I brought in Dr. Anna Kararma, structural engineer. She gave me a raised eyebrow, then a nod. Expensive, but doable. And so it began. New footings, steel I-beam, hidden foundation work, all disguised as repairs. 8 weeks for fabrication. All the while, Karen kept at it. More letters, more fines, each one forwarded to Carol, who added them to our file. But every envelope just made me grin. She had no clue what was coming. The day the vault door arrived, it was like a parade. Flatbed truck, crane, 4-man crew. Neighbors watched from their porches, phones out. Even George shook his head in disbelief. "Let's get your front door upgraded." Marcus, the installer, said. By the time it was done, my house had a 2-ton steel door, crank handle gleaming, bolts sliding home with a sound like thunder. To the neighbors, it was a joke. To me, it was freedom, and I knew Karen couldn't resist. Sure enough, a week later, my camera caught her marching up the driveway, Gerald trailing behind. She froze at the sight of the vault door, sunglasses sliding down her nose, tapping the steel like it might bite her. "Mr. Peterson, open this door immediately," she barked. I answered through the speaker, "Cool as you please." "Good morning, Karen. What can I do for you?" She nearly jumped out of her skin. Demanded I remove the monstrosity. Quoted bylaws at me. I quoted right back. "Doors in perfect repair. Aesthetics are subjective. Feel free to find me." Carol's already got quite a collection. She threatened, then stomped off, Gerald struggling to keep up. After that, the legend of Fort Knox spread. Mrs. Rodriguez had video. Neighbors whispered. The pizza guy started calling me that when he delivered. Karen tried one last flurry of fines. Intimidating portal structure, metallic sheen. Carol bundled it all up, sent a formal demand for damages and legal fees. The board, finally scared of being dragged into court, started to crack. Gerald grew a spine. Other members started asking questions, and at the next meeting, the whole neighborhood turned up, laughing as the video played. Karen tried to push an emergency amendment banning fortified doors. No one seconded her motion. Her power evaporated. The board's lawyer urged a quick settlement. They paid out every dime I'd spent, plus damages. And as part of the deal, Karen had to issue a written apology to the entire neighborhood. A week later, she resigned. Rumor is she moved somewhere with no HOA at all. A new board took over, trimmed the nonsense from the bylaws, and made it crystal clear no HOA officer could enter a home without consent. My vault door stayed. Too famous, too symbolic. These days, life's peaceful. My begonias bloom whatever color I want. I still spin that heavy wool every night and smile. Did I go overboard? Maybe. But Karen taught me something. If you don't defend your boundaries, someone else will walk right through them. Sometimes you've got to build your own castle, literally. So, let me ask you, how far would you go to protect your home, your peace of mind? Where's the line between standing up for yourself and going full Fort Knox? Drop your thoughts below or tell me your wildest HOA story. I bet I'm not the only one who's tangled with a clipboard tyrant and lived to laugh about it.